Hello and welcome to this week's episode. They've been doing it all day, sir. I'm Ben.
And I'm Chris.
Now the dust has settled on Origin and we're off to Perth. Let's get stuck in.
How's your week been, mate?
It's been good. It feels like an eternity ago that we were actually last here. So much has happened between last time we filmed, this time we filmed. Origin, the Lions got their first game in, a round of NRL.
Yeah.
A lot happening. How's your weekend been?
Yeah, not too bad actually. It was at a wedding up on the
Central Coast.
Central Coast.
Yeah, I saw that
It was
actually.
really nice. Really nice. Come back and I feel like utter shit.
Yeah, you don't sound too great.
No, I don't look it either. Like I look dreadful. I'm full of cold. I've got me lem sip here to the left of me to battle on through this episode.
Commitment to the cause,
yeah,
though.
man,
I love it.
Got to give the people what they want. And that's why I'm here. But other than that, you're right. It's been absolute overload of sport. Even England, India down to the last day.
How did I forget the cricket? And we haven't even got a result to be able to talk about, which is annoying.
No.
It finishes tonight. But before we get into that, I just want to go off on a little whinging section.
Okay. Whinging
Whinging Poms, as we always are. But do you know one thing that really pickles my cabbage?
Love that.
And it's how long traffic lights take to... In fact, no, it's not how long traffic lights take to turn. It's how long people take to pull off from traffic lights in Australia. So in the UK, the light sequence goes red, amber, or red and amber, green. So people prepare themselves to pull away.
Yep.
Here in Australia, it just goes red, green.
Start of an F1.
You lose, because people haven't got the quickest of reactions, you lose about 10 seconds, I think, from when that first car pulls away. Barely anyone gets through the lights and you're still left there like 2 minutes later. Really does do my head in.
Okay.
Like, for example, on the way here, there's about, 20 sets of traffic lights?
There's a few.
And you're just waiting for people to continue to pull away, and you're getting caught up in it. And yeah, I was nearly a bit behind this week, but I made it. Alas, I made it. So,
Love it.
Yeah, that's what I'm whinging about this week. Weather's getting warmer though. That's
weird. It's dropping though because it was a warm evening last night, and now it's dropping down to 16 again.
So overnight it'll be like single figures.
Yeah, 9.
Time to get the blankets out again. Yeah, it's too cold.
Yeah.
It's too cold, but feels like an eternity ago. Mentioned it at the start. Origin last week. New South Wales beaten, what was it in the end? I don't even want to remind myself of the score.
24-26 was it?
24-26 or 26-22. We're doing it a disservice by not remembering the score, but we want to put it to the back of our minds. Now that the dust has settled a bit, what are your thoughts on it?
It was 26-24. New South Wales need to spend the next camp learning how to fucking kick. Sorry for the expletives, but they've missed 7 out of 9 conversions in this series.
Well, Cleary wasn't kicking because of his groin, whatever went pop, his hamstring. So Lomax comes in, misses 4 out of the 5?
Yep.
And then, or 3 out of the 5. And then this weekend for the Eels,
slots everything.
Bang 6 out of 6.
Yeah. It could be the added pressure. Weather was horrendous. And you can't forget Lomax kicked New South Wales to victory last game 3. Yeah. So it's one of those. But it's on a whole, as I've said, 7 out of 9 missed. They've left 14 points out on those fields. Even when Lomax had 1 in front in game 1, he still managed to slice it. So
missed it, didn't he?
So there must be that little additional pressure. And then on the flip side, you've got to give Val Holmes credit, and you've got to give the Maroons credit for that first half. Munster and Grant, I think, were absolutely influential in driving that Queensland attack forward. Yeah,
considering Grant had an absolute stinker game 1, he did pretty well. Game 2, similarly, I think, Munster, the captaincy, elevated his game. And there's some random stat out there that he hasn't actually won a series with a moustache. So although I said it would give him some mongrel last week, being captain with a moustache, he shaved it off. Yeah. So I think because of that stat, a lot of talk about the refereeing. We've mentioned it, but if New South Wales get their kicks, it doesn't matter. But there was some questionable.
Like as much as I do moan about a referee, I do hate it when you do resort to that as the issue, the only issue. There's been a lot of talk on social media around the referee, and rightly so. but people then don't talk about the other issues that are in hand, like Brian Tyle again, dreadful in the air up against Val Holmes, misses an air ball in a 1-on-1 and they score in the corner.
Yeah.
So there's issues like that I missed, or was it it was either Val Holmes, I can't remember. But there was the biggest one I called out within the first half of the game was when Dearden took a 30-metre detour to block Lomax in the 1-on-1. Granted, I think they ended up scoring off the knock-on from Ponga.
Yeah.
But there was no initial call from Ashley Klein, and that's a penalty. Like, it could have been, right, let's get 2 points, reset, go again.
It's more the ones that are missed. I think I'm fair with the ones that were given for New South Wales. I'm not moaning about the 8-0 penalty count or the 8 of the 8-0. It's the nil. And when you see, I know you can take still pictures of anything and they can paint a picture, but Ruben Cotter is about 3 metres offside on 2 occasions that I've seen pictures of. Yeah. I'm like, how's that not being called? How's the touchy not seeing that and call it? And that's when we were down on their goal line as well. So, I mean, look, you can only beat... everyone's playing the same ref. There's a few conspiracy theories about taking it to a decider. It's what the NRL want. They want to sell out Homebush and get everyone there. But I think from a New South Wales standpoint, our bench or the players that had been selected that were on the periphery weren't as good this time round. Max King was only on for a short stint. I don't think he had the greatest of games. Atoya Kamano, not the biggest of impacts. He only had 41 metres running or something like that.
He didn't.
And then when Reece Robson came off, like all that time, you mentioned about Toto in the air. Yeah, okay, there was some mismatch there, but on the ground, he was phenomenal at finishing. Yeah. And when Connor Watson came on for Reece Robson, it's all of a sudden like we didn't bother going left towards his side, towards Mitchell and Toto, and we resorted to going right, and it just wasn't working. So stupid decisions, I think, like that led to New South Wales. And look, it could have been the best comeback.
The weather was also shit.
Yeah.
I know it's for both sides, and both sides were shit because of it at times. And just going on Connor Watson, it looked like he forgot how to pass the ball. At times, unfortunately. But you know what? I would, after that game, I think I would rather still been sat in the New South Wales shed.
For sure.
Going, right, we've nearly beat them. After a 24-6 lead, they've not turned up in this second half. We should have won.
My initial thinking after the game, and I suppose it still stands strong now, that second half is how New South Wales perform.
Yeah.
That is what they should do all the time. The first half was just an off. Like, they were terrible, maybe the influence of the ref, whatever. But game 3 should be an absolute blowout.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Unfortunately, we're in Canberra watching the Lions play against...
I was tempted to message you going, do we trade tickets? But then I said no to myself because, first of all, Origin is every year and the Lions is only once every 4 years.
12 years in Australia.
And 12 years in Australia. So I was like, don't be stupid.
I was thinking the same thing. And I saw something that the cheapest ticket for Origin was $350 as well.
Made the right decision.
So, yeah, we're heading down to Canberra for the Rumbies. We're watching the warm-up game before or after just before the first test.
Yeah.
So we're going to be watching that and then flying up to Brisbane to watch them at the Suncorp. But, we'll preview Game 3. It's a shame we're not going to be there. First Origin in Sydney we've missed in a couple of years. But, should we get stuck into...
Let's go.
Round 16. So how many fixtures? Not a full fixture list. I think there were 7 fixtures this weekend. Obviously, a lot of players rested. But where was your performance of the week?
I've gone for a young gentleman who made his 4th appearance for the Roosters. Benaya Iolu, I think is how it's pronounced. If I've got a good chance I've butchered that. Came on very early in this game and looked strong at hooker when he came on. I was quite impressed with how he was playing in that first half, how he was moving the ball defensively. Looked pretty sound. Yeah, he made mistakes, but he's 21 in and making his 4th first grade appearance. And then also to put the icing on the cake, he put in a brilliant crossfield kick for Daniel Tupou. And to be fair to the Roosters, if you want to have a young kicker kicking to anyone, you want the 2 boys in the Roosters with Daniel Tupou and Big Marky. Big Marky Mark. So yeah, really impressed with him. I think it may have been a performance that went under other people's radars because I think it was a round of very good performances, but that's what jumped out to me.
Yeah, I'm going to go... So it's performance of the week for me, and the reason why I say the week is because he played in 2 games. He was fairly influential in a few of the tries for New South Wales when they went down to Brian Toto's side. But for the Bunnies, he was a completely different animal. I'm going for Latrell Mitchell as my performance of the week. He put good defensive pressure on during Origin as well, which I thought was a real positive of his. But to put that performance in what was a more intense game on the Wednesday to then back it up on the Saturday night, his performance, he got 3 of the assists for... in fact, he got all 3 of the assists for... No, he didn't, because Johnson, one of them was an intercept, but he got 2 assists for the 4 of his tries, and some of the passes that he provided as well. Yes. Like Farlongo didn't know what was happening when he threw an absolute bullet out wide, skipping one person. He turned around and was like, oh, he's there. I've missed him. Creativity from him, and then the kick that he put through for Munro for that try that gave him the lead. No, it levelled it up, and all he had to do was slot the kick to get it over, and he just pulled it to the left, I think. But even his... it was 2-point field goal to try and win it. Absolutely smacked the leather off the ball, 50 metres comfortably, and it was close to going over. But even though on the losing side, I'm going to go with Latrell Mitchell. What a week it's been for him. Who's your flop of the week?
I think this is more of a accumulation of the last 2 rounds. I've gone to Cowboys. They've conceded 100 points in 2 games and scored 12. I just don't know where to go with them.
Yeah, they've dropped down the ladder quite a bit as well with those 2 losses.
They just look dreadful. Roosters had them in the pocket. They had no attacking intent. So
defensively were terrible.
Defensively all over the place. Tommy Dearden was just unheard of.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to go for the Cowboys.
Yeah, fair. I've gone for Sione Katoa. Sharks had a fairly good first half. I felt that they could have put a serious number of points on the Broncos. Broncos got themselves back into it. But then there was an absolute brain fart from Katoa just before half-time. The buzzer had sounded. I think the siren had gone, and whoever it was broke free or intercept. I can't. It was a high ball, and he's just stuck his arm out. Professional foul. Yep. Bin Simbin. It didn't have a direct influence on the game, but I think them playing for 10 minutes with 12 men after the break sapped their energy because the Broncos were relentless. So for me, my flop of the round is Sione Katoa. Let's dive into the fixtures. Let's start. We're going in order of what we feel was some engaging games. We won't go in an order of how they were, but Warriors 18 defeated by the Panthers 28. I think this might be the upset of the round.
Comfortably. I think everyone backed the Warriors, probably other than Panthers fans. They're going to end up winning the comp, aren't they?
Oh, don't even... I wrote them off a while ago because you assumed that teams would gain momentum and there'd be a separation from the top 8 and those struggling further down. Because the competition is so close, they are going to find themselves...
This is going to win it.
In the 8, in form, everyone playing well, and you know what's going to happen. You know they're just going to end up there or thereabouts come the end of the season. They've got the most experience out of all of the teams in the that would be the top 4. So let's say they finish in the 8. You've got in the top 4, it'd be what? Storm, Warriors, Bulldogs and Raiders. Those 4 teams aren't too experienced in recent years in finals football. Nah. So you've got the Panthers sitting in the 5 to 8 range.
There's 11 rounds to go. They're just starting to churn the Panthers machine at the right time. They're looking a lot more defensively sound than they did in previous weeks. The young lads seem to be starting to gel with the defensive structure.
And that was without all their Origin players as well.
That was without all the Origin players who are big influences. So
Leota led from the front, though. He got stuck into Fisher-Harris straight from the outset. The opening kickoff, he went in and tried to absolutely level him. And they were, one of the best forward partnerships in the league for a number of years. And that
was always going to happen, wasn't it?
So what surprised me is Warriors over in New Zealand. Like, they tucked him in.
Just nothing. Yeah, and I think that's what makes it even a greater victory.
Yeah.
Is in New Zealand when they have this resurgence of energy, and they just look like schoolboys.
They did, and I thought, do you know what? Fair play to the Panthers. I only saw the highlights of this one, but they're just finding form at the right time. They got a few fixtures that will test them coming up. They've got the Bulldogs as well. Yeah, that might be this week. I can't remember. It is this week.
Thursday.
Yeah, so that'll be a good one because they have all their Origin players back. Be a good one to actually assess where they are. But from one upset to another.
Yeah.
Dolphins weren't bad. Like, the Dolphins weren't bad. I think the Knights were just good.
Yeah, and we did mention how defensively sound they can be.
Yeah.
Throughout the game, and they just seem to tuck away the Dolphins. And I think we're going to see a bit of a resurgence of the Knights. You've now got Dom Young back. You've got Braden Best back. I think their attack is going to change. I think you're going to see a lot more attacking intent with them. If they can keep up with a defensive structure and just keep the points out, I think they and start scoring over the other. I think Dom Young could end up being quite close to having the most tries in the season. Because I think they're just going to continuously attack him, and he'll have a little bit of confidence, and I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being quite close to the top. Yeah,
and the other thing to consider, obviously a couple of weeks out from Origin Game 3, Bradman Best is an Origin machine.
Yes, he is.
Is there an outside chance that he gets picked for Game 3? Who would he replace though?
It'd be either Crichton or Mitchell.
Crichton didn't have the greatest of games.
You keep Crichton in there, man. Sorry.
But Bradman Best last year absolutely
Blasphemy.
Best tore it apart last year. Like, he was one of the ones, didn't he like split his lip fully open?
Yeah.
So he's got that dog in him.
He does, but I still prefer Mitchell and Crichton together as centres.
Yeah, can't argue. Who did Best replace last year? Was it Mitchell? It must have been.
Yeah.
Because was Mitchell injured last year? I can't remember. But yeah, you said this game would be tighter than expected. I predicted a 40-odd point blowout. And the Knights actually ended up turning over the Dolphins. You know, I read a stat earlier about Herbie Farnworth that he's only missed like 14 tackles all season. And he went for a period of 8 weeks not missing a tackle. So he's in absolute form of his life. Like, the Dolphins weren't bad. They just made errors at key times. Like, the hammer dropped 2 high balls, which wasn't great. And that led to the tries for Newcastle. But the biggest thing that is a concern for the Dolphins is their in-form winger, Bostock, ACL. Now, I watched the highlights of this game because I was out, and you actually hear the pop of his ACL when he goes down. Such a shame. He was on fire.
He was incredible,
Maybe it was the celebrating the 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, someone...
The rugby gods.
Few people said, don't run before you can walk. So I don't know whether there's a bit of...
And to be fair, we haven't seen the money man that often.
Yeah.
Since he started the old money celebration.
Tuapoloto's been out injured, so...
The rugby gods don't favour a celebration.
They don't. So, Turbo, if you score this weekend, don't celebrate. Please don't celebrate. In fact, it's not even this weekend. They're playing Friday night. So, we'll see. But yeah, shame for him. He was having a great season. But what upset from the Knights. Again, like you say, resurgence. This competition is just getting tighter and tighter.
How many points? They are on 14 points at the moment. Panthers are on 17. So there's 3 points outside the 8. Like, if they go on it's mad how close this league is. If they go on a streak, they could just sneak into the 8. And imagine that at the start, where most weeks that we've discussed about them.
I think the top 4 are pretty solid. Like, I think it's important to look at the wins, losses rather than the points, because we've mentioned before about the buys. Like, for example, the Storm have had 3 buys, whereas the Raiders have only had 1. So the Raiders sit above them on the table. But the Dogs are on 11 wins, the Raiders on 12, Storm on 9. Warriors on 10, and then there's a bit of a drop off there. The Broncos have got 7 wins, Sharks 8. And do you know what? All the way down to Manly in 10th. So what? That's 5th to 10th. They're separated by 1 or 2 wins. And then you've got another pool of people that are all the way down to, well, it's really the Titans, actually, that are the only ones bottom of the table. Everyone else, I reckon, can make the 8. Like, they're 2 wins away from being in the 8. All you need to do is put a bit of a run together, and you're there. And that's what the Knights signing Dom Young and having Bradman Best back. That's something that could potentially happen. But onto what some could argue was game of the week.
Right,
Rabbitohs losing out in a Golden Point thriller to the Storm, 24-25. You mentioned that this could have been a bit of a...
I nearly looked like I'm predicting God.
You did.
And you know what? If it wasn't for Mitchell's boot, they would have won this. He left 6 points out there, so it's one of those little frustrating things, I suppose. But no, we've said the Storm aren't continuously good. Like the talent is dragging them through.
I reckon they might struggle in finals. Right?
Yeah, they're not screaming out a final team for me. Like I said, the talent is just better than the other team.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see how they go for the rest of the season. In that sense, and if they do need to get because the only team you could really compare to is the Broncos. The Broncos have been that inconsistent, but they have the talent to bring it through, but the talent haven't turned up. Like that could have easily been the Storm this season, but their talent has been playing well.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, and a big point in the game, Alex Johnson scoring 4 tries.
Try machine.
So he's only 6 away from the all-time record, which is held by Ken Irvine. Apologies, only if I pronounce it wrong. Only been known the game for 4 years. Quite a long record's been held for, but 212 tries he's chasing. Will he get it done this season is the big question. They've got the Dolphins, then Manly, then the Panthers, Sharks, Broncos, Titans he could score all 6 against, Eels, Dragons and Roosters.
Yeah, he'll get it done this season.
I reckon he does. And there's talks of, because when in the AFL, when Buddy Franklin broke the all-time, everyone,
pitch invasion.
Yeah, I reckon they should do the same for him because this is a significant record, the most tries ever. So there's got, but if it's at the Accor,
or is it going to be at Manly?
And there's, he can't score. He might stick a few against the Dolphins, and then at 4 Pines Park. Oh, that's the Sunday after the Waratahs game as well. I know we're going to be. My birthday weekend, it might be a bit of a frosty one. So
frosty game.
Yeah, but we'll see. Like I said, though, Melbourne, they're just struggling of late. It'd be interesting to see how they go.
Yeah. Can't put my finger on it.
I know they're a bit of a strange one, hard one to read. Sitting in the top 4, but wouldn't even say anything if they slipped outside and ended up finishing 5-8 at some point. But Broncos. 34, defeat the Sharks, 28. Big tale of 2 halves in this one.
Massive. 22-12 at half-time. We've got going in, and I know you're down at the 12 men, and I think they scored in there. Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
The Sharks scored. The Sharks took it to 28-12. And then
22 unanswered points.
The Broncos just came back. And to be fair, you're watching the game, and I was watching it, and you could see there was only going to be one winner, and it was going to be the Broncos. Everything they did was just at a faster pace and higher intensity, and they just wanted it more. I
got to give him his dues. Reece Walsh had a good game.
He had a couple of decent little shimmies.
Yeah, he had a good game.
Still unsure about him coming from the back as fullback. I'm still not sold on that. But again, a couple of errors. I think there was did Kennedy drop one? I think
Nico Hines dropped the ball on the last when they got the ball on the last, and he stuck it out on the. He kicked it out the back, 7 tackle set. As they're attacking towards the end, Braden Trindle I think kicked one out on the full, which led to a try.
That was a massive one. That was a massive one. I think he was at the Sharks 30-40 metre line as well. So that's massive to give a set.
Mulatalo dropped one and then knocked it on. They were a lot of mistakes, but I don't see them being a title contender now. I think
they're on a bit of a decline. I think we've tried to force them in there and try to come up with excuses for them, but they're just being so inconsistent in what they're doing, and it's really starting to show.
It is. But a team that isn't on the decline, a team that is fully on the up at the right time of the season, is the Sydney Roosters. You mentioned the Cowboys being your flop of the week.
Yeah.
The Roosters absolutely blew them away, 42 points to 8. Are we saying they could be an outside chance?
Cool, 100%. They're absolutely flying, and I completely agree with what's been said about the sort of the half situation at the Roosters. You've got Sandon Smith and Hugo Savala, who are having very good seasons. You've also got Sam Walker to come into that as well. And the way DCE's playing, like, why would you go and splash money on him when you've got a good core of halves there that can be interchanged? And they're churning out wins. Give them a couple of seasons under the belt, they're going to be incredible.
That's what, if they're building for the future and they really want to get a halves partnership together. I mean, with Sam Walker coming back, one of them is likely going to have to go. But if you bring DCE in, two of them are going to have to go. And it's likely going to be Sandon Smith and Savala. So it's a difficult one because, I mean, how tall is Savala? He's like 6 foot.
He's a big boy.
6'4", 6'5" or something. Huge boot on him as well.
Yeah.
He's surely going to sign a multi-year deal, which means it's Sandon Smith on the way out. And if DCE signs, who knows what's going to happen. So I think that'd be stupid too. I think...
Yeah, and this back line is starting to click as well. With Robert Toyers is putting in a couple of good shifts. Mark Nawinga
Nito.
I always think I can say it really fast in my head, but then when I go to say it,
it's a difficult one.
It's just absolutely shocking. Big Marky Mark. I think I'll just stick with Marky Mark.
Big Mark. Who's what a finisher he is, by the way.
Yeah, he's incredible.
Yeah.
He's scoring tries for fun. So you know what? They've got a great back line there. Why rock the boat? In that sense, and I know at this point he is signing a name more than an actual player. Yeah.
Is it what you need, or is it more reputation?
Yeah. So we'll see with them, but yeah, they're making a good charge. Would they go deep in the finals? I don't think so. But will they get there? Yeah, I reckon so.
It'll be interesting to see what are their remaining fixtures. Let's just pull their fixtures up for a second. So they have...
so they've got...
Tigers...
Yep.
They've got a bye this week. Then they've got the Tigers, which is winnable game. Dragons, winnable game. Roosters, Sharks, winnable game. Storm, Test, Sea Eagles.
Who knows?
Dolphins, Bulldogs, Eels, Storm. So then Rabbitohs. They've got a challenging fixture list coming up. But if they're in the 8, they deserve it, which I think they will be. And you never know, they could sneak into the top 4 if one of the Warriors or the Storm aren't consistent. So let's keep an eye on them moving forward. But onto a team that is absolutely flying at the moment, although this was a gritty old win.
Yeah. Gritty
old win. It was 16-0 at half-time. The Raiders, they defeated the Tigers, West Tigers, 16-12. Do you reckon the lack of the bye is starting to catch up with them? Because they've played, They've played the most games out of everyone. They've only had one bye. The Sharks have only had one bye as well.
Yeah, look at what's happening with the Sharks.
There's a few of them but I suppose they went over to Vegas, so they've had a forced bye as well. But they've played a lot of games on the bounce. They got the most wins. Do you reckon it's starting to catch up with them?
A little bit. It was a bit like the Bulldogs Rabbitohs game from the week before. The Raiders came out absolutely flying, went to leading 16-0 at half time, and then just became unstuck in the second half.
I actually switched off at half time.
Yeah, I think they just lost that little bit of oomph in them. And like you said, is it because they didn't have Hudson Young was playing, so he was backing up, you could argue that actually it's the fatigue starting to set in at this point.
When I was watching, I was like, Tamale was on one. He's an absolute animal. He was playing well. This is what I mean. Going back to my point earlier about Origin, Hudson Young didn't have the greatest of games when he came on. Like, that's what I mean about those fringe players that are picked. So whether he gets picked for game 3, we'll see. I think there'll be a few changes. But how class was it that Ricky Stewart got to see his son score a try in the NRL, makes his debut and scores? That must have been absolutely class. I think I read somewhere that he's put off giving him his debut for 4 years or something.
That's brave.
Yeah, because I suppose you don't want to be the Coach's son, you're getting put on.
To be fair to the lad, he looked a talent.
Good finish over in the corner.
It's not easy to score in the NRL. So to be able to come on and score on your debut, arguably he's probably in the position to be able to do it.
Yeah.
On the wing.
If he was playing prop, then maybe.
Yeah, prop, it would have been a different sort of conversation. It'd be like get him in the New South Wales team. But yeah, he must be so proud watching that, and it's a nice little wholesome story to.
It certainly is
to end that on.
Interesting. I think Ricky Stewart cried when Papali'i scored his 2 tries, but did he shed a tear for his son scoring his first? I don't know, but I was thinking, that'd be class if if I was I'm never going to be in a coaching position, but if my son scored, the under 6s they aren't exactly flying, but
they've been doing it all day, coming to a local club near you.
Yeah, exactly. Got beaten 3-0 again at the weekend, but anyway, on to the last game of the week.
Yeah,
this one out of nowhere, the Eels have found some form. No Dylan Brown, no Mitch Moses, and they defeat the Gold Coast Titans 36-20. Lomax, I think, took this team by the scruff of his neck, and Iongi at the back.
Yep.
And when we're going to do this, but Titans got to be favourite for the spoon.
Yeah. I don't know what I was on last week to predict the Titans, but I to be fair, saying that, I felt like my prediction was justified. In what I was saying.
They looked all right against Manly, but is that how terrible Manly were?
But Eels just did what they did to us. Just up the jumper, offloads, left, right, and just scoreboard pressure.
They were moving it so quick as well from side to side that you could tell they were getting it out.
The
Adokar was running it hard as well. But yeah, Lomax 6 for 6 with his kicking. Couple from the sideline.
If he had that on Wednesday, it would be
couple from the sideline. But do you know what? I look at the ladder, I look at the table, and even though the Eels are sneaking up 5 wins, they're only putting on a little run, and they're just outside the 8. I honestly reckon from the Broncos,
I reckon from fifth to 16th,
Anyone
could sneak in.
Literally anyone from that, and this competition is so tight.
I wouldn't be surprised if from 5th to 16th the gap is like 8 points at the end of the season.
Yeah,
I reckon
even less.
What is it now?
So 5th is on 18. It's 4 points.
4 points. Oh, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 8 points separating.
It's even less.
It's so tight.
I mean, there's teams that are tracking in the right direction. So I look at this and I go, Sharks probably not in the right directions. Roosters in the right direction. Panthers, Dolphins all right. A blip. Sea Eagles no. Dragons no. Cowboys no. But you look at 13, 14, or Knights, Eels, and Rabbitohs, who are all sitting close to the bottom of the table, all tracking in the right direction. Yes, the Tigers could track in the right direction, but I think they've got a real difficult schedule coming up. So be interesting to see how they go. But I think I got 5 out of 7 in the tips.
I got 2.
Oh. Bad week.
I got 2 or did I get 3? No, I got 2.
Oh, wasn't Origin included in this as well? Yeah, so I only got 5. So looking forward to round 17. We say it all the time. The weeks are absolutely flying by.
Yep.
We're at the CommBank. We got the Panthers, $2.21 against the Bulldogs, $1.67.
I'm going to go for the Bulldogs. I think this is going to be their statement game against the resurging Panthers. To be at the top of the ladder and to prove themselves up there, I think they need to win this.
I'm going to go the opposite.
Yeah.
I reckon Panthers, with their Origin players coming back in, I reckon this is time for them to make a statement and label their credentials and say, we're back.
Yeah.
Panthers are back.
Yeah, it could go either way with that one. But then on the Friday, 6 o'clock kickoff, we will be in the air.
We're not going to be there. I think I thought about this earlier. This is the first Manly game that I haven't watched in a fair number of years. Like, I say fair, 3, maybe 2.5 years. So yeah, disappointed. But we're going to be flying over to Perth.
Can't help it.
Yeah.
I suppose we can technically get it on KO as soon as we land. But anyway, the Sea Eagles versus the West Tigers. Sea Eagles $1.48, Tigers $2.66. Who are you picking?
So few changes been made in this lineup. We got Turbo coming in at centre. right centre, pairing with Garrick on the wing. Saab dropped to the reserves. Lodge coming in starting.
Big Matty Lodge, that's come out of nowhere.
That has. Big Matty Lodge starting it prop, like it. With Ethan Bullymore coming off the bench, like it a lot. Lehigh Hopewate back at fullback.
Yeah.
It's got to be Manly, hasn't it? Manly all day, every day.
Yeah, I'm going to go Manly as well. And do you know what? Having Matt Lodge on the... one thing I've noticed is Takiaho gets more aggressive if you've got an aggressive prop next to him.
Yeah.
And Matt Lodge is very aggressive with his running, and it's going to be aggressive from the start. So it's going to be good to see. He's going to be up against Terrell May, so it'll be a good battle there. But Sea Eagles, hopefully a good win.
Get the season back on track.
Yep.
Then we go up to Newcastle on the Friday night, McDonald Jones Stadium. We've got the Newcastle Knights, $3.16 against the Canberra Raiders, $1.36.
Ooh, Fletcher Sharp and Hudson Young are both out.
Fletcher Sharp ruptured his spleen and his kidney, or lacerated his kidney, all from what was an apparent normal tackle. Mental.
I'm going to go the Raiders.
Yep.
Just because of the run they're on, but do you know what? This is not a easy pick. It's not. It's
tighter than
it's
it.
not nearly $2 in it. It's a lot closer than that, and especially with Dom Young being back at home, it could be again Knights. This could be a lot closer than one may have thought initially.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go with the Raiders, but it wouldn't surprise me one bit if the Newcastle Knights turn up and win this game. But I am going to tip the Canberra Raiders.
Yeah. Good. And then on the first game on the Saturday, we're up at the Suncorp with the resurging Brisbane Broncos at $1.58 against the New Zealand Warriors at $2.39.
That's quite surprising, but Watene Zelezniak is out, which... it's not the biggest loss. They dealt with that at the start of the season. Broncos aren't missing anyone. This is a tough one to pick, but I'm going to go with the Brisbane Broncos to win this. I said it last week. At home, Warriors travelling. I reckon the Broncos get this done.
I think I'm going to join you there. If they play like they did last week, then yeah, they'll beat them. But who knows which Broncos team? So we're both taking a bit of a gamble here. Yeah,
we'll see how that one goes. But then we go down to the Gong. We go to Wynn Stadium where we've got the St. George Illawarra Dragons at $1.63 against the Parramatta Eels at $2.28. Still no Mitch Moses he's out for 6 weeks, isn't he, with his calf, I think it is. So where's your money at this one?
This is a tough one.
It's a tough week. This is how tight the competition is.
I liked what I saw from the Eels. I'm going to go Eels.
I can't remember. I usually put my tips in on Sunday on the ESPN app. And I think this is the one that I was tossing to and fro as to who I'm going to pick. But I reckon I'm going to join you with the Eels. I think with Dylan Brown coming back.
Yeah.
Will Penasini is out and Riley Smith, both for judiciary, both leg lifts, and one was from a dangerous tackle. So that might have an impact, but Tyrell Sloan is out for the Dragons. So yeah, I'm going to join you with the Parramatta Eels.
And then we're back at the Suncorp Stadium. So this is a double header on the same day.
That was the other one. Oh yeah, it is. Ignore me. I thought it was a Friday.
Don't worry, you will be ignored.
I will ignore you. I will be ignored, idiot.
The Dolphins are at $1.54 against the Rabbitohs $2.48.
Bostock's the only one out. Season done. I'm going to go the Rabbitohs.
Okay.
I reckon they're going to be reeling after that defeat to the Storm, but I've got a feeling that I reckon they beat the Dolphins.
No, I'm going to go opposite. I think I'm going to, for the same reasons, but I'm going to go for the Dolphins. They're going to be absolutely reeling after the loss to the Knights, and they're going to want to put a show on. So I'm going to go for the Dolphins.
Fair play. And then we head over to Melbourne, Amy Park. We got the $1.32 Melbourne Storm against the $3.43 Cronulla Sharks.
The inconsistent flat trap bullies are back. Storm.
Yeah. It's hard not to disagree with that. The fact that it's at home.
Yeah.
They do very well at home.
Yeah.
Coates is back. Yeah, I'm going to join you. I'm going to go with the Storm on this one.
And then finally, we're at the Cbus Super Stadium with the Gold Coast Titans at $2.25 and the Cowboys at $1.65.
Queensland Derby. Not the most exciting of derbies to finish the weekend on. Cowboys win this. They have got to pick up a performance from somewhere. They've got to get 2 points from somewhere. This is where they get it. So I'm going for the Queensland Cowboys.
Yeah, I'll join you on that one. Spoon bowl for Titans.
Well, see, this could be some separation this week. You never know from pushing them out at the bottom. But let's switch codes. Let's go from Rugby League to Rugby Union. British and Irish Lions played their first game over the weekend. They came up against the Los Pumas.
Yeah, very good team.
Argentina, and came out 26th.
Yeah, I think it was...
They lost.
They did.
They lost. What were your thoughts on the game?
I think it's very much a game that you get every first game with a Lions team.
Yeah.
It's that everyone trying to figure out who everyone is. There's silly mistakes, and when you come up against a well-drilled, well-oiled team, there's going to be cracks. And I think, don't quote me, but I think that might be one of the hardest warm-up games they've had.
It's got to be. Argentina ain't no mugs.
Argentina are no mugs as a team, and they do well in the Rugby Championship against New Zealand, South Africa, and Australia. So. But you know, it's hopefully they'll have ironed those out. There'll be additions to go into it. So the likes of Finn Russell are going to be joining in there, who will bring a different level to this team. So exciting to watch them on Saturday.
Yeah, a bit of doom and gloom the fact that they lost to Argentina, but bringing a team of all stars together, it's always going to take a bit of time to gel, get used to each other, playing together, all that sort of stuff. And I mean, Argentina, two of Argentina's tries came from breakaways. So I thought it was a solid start to the tour, like being able to play in front of a home crowd, seeing them in Dublin. Thought it was a real good start. And yeah, it's a good platform to build upon. I think strong opposition in Argentina, prepare well for what's to come. But talking about what's to come, this Friday we head over to Perth.
Yes, we do.
We are on a flight whilst Mandy plays, so we'll be hopefully watching that after we land. So no spoilers when we land, can't be checking phones. But we're coming up against the Western Force, the British and Irish Lions against the Western Force. And what I think is going to be really interesting about this, and I messaged you saying this, is that you talk about a team coming together, taking time to gel, but they're going to be coming up against a team that's played together for a long period of time. I reckon this is going to be a lot tougher test than it might look on paper.
When did they land? They landed
yesterday. Yeah.
Yesterday. So, you know, you've got 5-6 days to
get over jet lag.
Yeah, that normally takes 3 days, and then get into training, still train at high intensity. So yeah, I think it'll be a slow first half, and then Lions to run away with it in the second.
But we'll be at the Optus Stadium. We got some juicy tickets in the lower.
Yep.
I think we're on the lower levels, back row of the lower levels. We're going to be in Perth, exploring the town. I think there's a few boozers near the ground that we might...
They will be sampled.
Yeah, that we might head into town, have a look. I've been to Perth a few times. You been to Perth before?
No.
First time in Perth?
Yeah.
That's good. So we might have a little walk around, explore, and see how it goes. But we might dress full kit. We'll see what.
Undecided at the moment.
We're undecided.
We might reserve it for the tests.
We might just go test because Brisbane will be eased into it with the weather. Then we'll go down to Melbourne. It'll be freezing, and then Sydney. It should be all right. But how do you reckon the tour will go? What are your thoughts and feelings ahead of the tour? Is it only the tests that matter, or do all of the games?
No, all games matter because you want something from the whole squad, don't you?
Yeah.
I reckon there'll be. So how many games are there? There's
9.
I reckon it's going to be 7 wins, 2 losses, and I think one of those losses is going to be a test.
You know what? I don't want to see us lose a test, but I think it adds a bit of spice.
Yeah.
If we do, like a 3-0 whitewash is fantastic. I think we've only ever done it twice, but to go into that final game at the Allianz, at the Accor, 1-1, I think it'd be a great ending to what I feel is going to be an incredible tour. Like, I'm already part of a few Facebook groups, and there's loads of people coming over over for it. There's a lot of expats over here, a lot of immigrants, British immigrants over here that will be cheering everyone on. But it's going to be really exciting. Really looking forward to it, and we're going to 6 out of 9 of the games kicking it off in Perth. So looking forward to that one. But make sure to follow along on socials as well, because we're going to give some new things a go. We're going to potentially put out some bit of a vlog, bit of a travel vlog, maybe some interviews of people out and about, depending on how many beers we've had and how confident we are.
How confidence goes,
But, you know, stepping into new ventures and stuff like that. But, really looking forward to it. So make sure you follow us along. They've been doing it all day, sir, on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Yeah. They're the main ones, I think. But
teletext.
Yeah, teletext. You had to follow along. As you usually put it, 888 or something like that, 666. Get the scores up. But one last thing to talk about. Now, I put this in the schedule, hoping we'd be able to talk about a result.
What a flat track, but 2 teams that have been able to hold their bat. So
England in the cricket opening a 5-test series against India, opening test.
And I was thinking about it the other day, and I think this is just really going to highlight what the battle is going to be over here in the Ashes. And I think the battle is Australia's bowling versus England's batting. I think that's going to be whoever wins that wins the series.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this I've watched bits. I've dived in the evenings when I've actually felt awake enough to watch it. But for me, India have Jasprit Bumrah, like unreal bowler. But Siraj is all right. He's not great. He's good. But then below that, Jadeja throws the odd decent ball down there. But England's batting is held firm. Yeah. And it's done pretty well. Now, caveat, we've still got an innings to go and a day to chase down 376. But it feels like England's batting is better than India's bowling. And India's batting is better than England's bowling. But England's bowling isn't as good as India's bowling. So it kind of all evens itself out, if any of what I've just said makes sense. But it feels like we're in for a good test series against India, which is a great warm-up for coming over here. Which I would prefer our warm-up against India
than West Indies.
Than Australia's against West Indies. And I think, Constance has been named as, or is looking like he's going to open the batting. Have I just made that up? But I've seen him rigs out in the West Indies, in Barbados. Just
what a place to be as well. Yeah. Like, how good is it to be a test cricketer? Just travel the world and play cricket.
Like, you barely play any cricket and you're just traveling the world. Like, you just got to stand in the field for 5 days. Like, it's mental. Talking of the West Indies, you see Jofra Archer is back. Was back bowling in county cricket. Yeah, 14 overs.
We'll see. See if he makes it to the Ashes.
So, because he's going to get selected for, I reckon, in this test series against India. It's just whether the body holds up. Yeah. We'll see how it goes.
Be test 4 or 5, I reckon.
It'll be good to see him out there. Yeah, we do need a 90-mile-an-hour bowler coming over here.
We need Mark Wood or Jofra Archer. Like Kes or Cast is quite close. Yeah, he's high 80s, but you need a Mitchell.
What's Tongue bowling at?
Oh, I don't know.
Because Wokes is only 79. He gets it moving though. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But anyway, huge weekend coming up. Lions tour kicks off. We're flying over to Perth, so be sure to follow us along on socials. They've been doing it all day, sir. And thank you for listening in, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Lions!